Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
As Hunron Richard Claare na Gael, Bavalia mus Altaga. My name is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach, Shen the Grey, Owl Bobby Bob. And Claare na Gael is a bilingual programme with some of it in the English language as less Perchis a Gaelg, and with part of it in the Manx Gaelic, Chinyanamera, the mother tongue of Ellanbanning, the Isle of Man. As Bannacht Dutrish. Magnus Olafsson, King of Norway, is better known in history as Magnus Barefoot, sometimes Magnus Bare Legs, probably because he wore a Gaelic short tunic, perhaps even a kilt, and left his legs bare. He was an aggressive military presence in the Irish Sea area, with the Isle of Man as his base. Va Fred Poostrish Kate. Ach, geraumon a kielege ben chesje eeg sjo. Was spraag de urgedeg pred as rennie koenre sjenson mieren de air glen. Ach dintje de Kate den e mirinen boeie van, as de jinu shiggen en be weg act de jinu roesen. And the word Cailleach has come up quite a bit this year, with Cailleach de Gesheg on the morning of Lalbrija and Matthew Warren's forthcoming Manx opera, Cailleach. And it came up in conversation just the other evening, apropos of which I mentioned this song with which Claare na Gael opens. Tawas geisjach rish radio vanning stasiwn na nasiwn. Viscol skeiliamach by Dúlis Ellen Vanning.
Shidwa moi, shidwa moi, shidwa moi, Cailleach narigid. Shidwa mo honor shori, hachi gochi wori khasharge. Samasan to boss, Cailleach narigid. Tasam na boss, tacharog, de tachana reke katolich and tarigid. Shidwa moi, she Cailleach narigid. Shidwa mo honor shori, hachi gochi wori khasharge. Says gotta go boss, Bertere Malisha. Gotta go boss, Tommy Hill Wodigus Morin Khas. Agashidwa moi, she Cailleach narigi. Shidwa mo honor shori, hachi gochi wori khasharge. Kavakas and steam, cheer to kneeling, it's Baraka clean, Chumachare warage. Kagaran shir ni nore tun ni khnyochi shulle Cailleach narigi. Agashidwa moi, Cailleach narigi. Shidwa mo atunar shori, Jisichi fall on Friday and Saturday.
Joseph O'Haney, Joe Heaney, the wonderful traditional singer from Connemara, and there he was recorded in 1964 singing about Cailleach an Arigid, translated into English generally as the hag with the money. Magnus Barefoot was the only son of King Olaf Kyrre, Olaf the Peaceful. At the age of 16, Olaf went to the Battle of Stamford Bridge near York. That was in 1066, but he remained on the ship, just as, in fact, another person who went there, who became well known in Manx history, Godred Crovan did. He went with his father to the Battle of Stamford Bridge, but remained on the ship, being only young at the time. And Olaf's father, King Harald Hardrada of Norway, was killed in that action against Harold Godwinson. And after the Battle of Stamford Bridge, Olaf, the son of Harald Hardrada, got away, as, of course, did Godred Crovan. With Harald Hardrada dead, Olaf became King of Norway. He was called Kyrre, the Peaceful, because he settled his father's conflicts with the church and strengthened the power of the monarchy. And so this was the father of Magnus Barefoot. Olaf Kyrre died in 1093, and, being his only son, Magnus Barefoot was proclaimed king at least in southeastern Norway. However, on the north, the nobility proclaimed Magnus Barefoot's cousin, Håkon, as king. They preferred Håkon to Magnus Barefoot. But 2 years later, in fact, Håkon died in 1095, and Magnus Barefoot established himself as king of all of Norway. Ren Fred on lukken de mieren de air voor Vanjur en Jollach se stable. Trevor Fred a Serach hen kager en de grek poich grei. Grauw urgedekkeit de jonnige wegach djurti de rauw mieren en boeien on lukkit se stable. As merouwd adeltach de haige jousen, de berge oru rauwre nisa der en son heen on rauw is son gulfagus den wal. Rennad de jaru as schul jou leshulju. Honnig Fred na poich me gyrt de tai as dinch keit de rauwe jonnige het lesh na mieren en boeien. Tre dinch Fred de rauwe shen Glen, as ulju in urgid vok, ren keit corlacha eiert na kageren. Va Fred shul na tavi in de stavi nesh, as de leer vi fegits na jai. Tre henki gus slew, ren ka beg de geje tuja mach as a foged, as sul she se klew. Harau keit son gull red cheden shen rish, mar so ren iliga ke beg elje rai shis, as vi jerkel de jinner shen corli g rish a chid gebeg. Ach, gedenked. William Williams was arch therwydd Gorsa the Beirth. He's one of the Prevars, the foremost bards, and his bardic name was Cruis, a cross. He was a pach, as Dylan Thomas had it, a pachedic. He was a reverend. And one of his poems was set to music, and here Roy Griffiths leads the trio Plethin in the song Hon Uva Olwyn. This is my own Olwen.
Rwy'n fodlon cydnabod bod olwen yr eneth brydferthaf ond un. Ni syna fi'n mymryn fod bairdd pob oes yn hanner addoli ei llun. Ond rhaid I mi addef hynny fod un sy'n anwylach I mi. Mae'n canu ar aelwyd y gegin nawr, hon yw fy olwen I. Ni o'n nad oes fflamgoch sydd anau, am wregis fan wylid wen, na chadwyn o berlau llais am ei gwl, na choron o air ar ei ffen. Ond waith gen I ddim am hynny, y sioncaf o bawb ydyw hi, heb ffyrling o ddyled I neb drwy y byd, hon yw fy olwen I. Fod rai gwanach ei dwylo, be all fod rai sgawnach ei troi, ond beth tys e dwylo fy nghariad morwyn, ag aneno mi ffanon y coi. Beth ddeiau o'r tyddyn ar aelwyd, am plant sydd gyn amled ei rhi. Dyner ei chalon a chaled ei llaw, hon yw fy olwen I. Pan glywais fod meillion yn tyfu, lle bynnag yr ai olwen y bar, ni gerddais o amgylch fy nyddyn glas, a dychwelais I rodion yn ar. oes sy'n dyn ar gyfrif y meichion, a'r blodau sy'n chwerthin mor ffri, lle cerddodd un arall sy'n ddigon di sôn, ond i'w ddolweni. Hanedydd ymhlant yr hen o'i rwyd, a minnau yn llesg ac yn hen. Oedd erfydd disgwyl i olwen y bair, bod yno achus hanna gwyn. Ond mi o'n am un fydd yn glynu tra croesaf y llun. Ni fydd yr olaf i droi a'i chen, ond i'w ddolweni.
A song with words by the Prifar Crwys, William Williams. I couldn't vouch for the melody, but the name of Crwys seems to be the only one connected with the song, so perhaps he also wrote that. And it was sung there by Roy Griffiths with Plethin. Fy Kate Smunion fod in y bacad derach ebeg y cebeg elia chaws fe rôl y siaeg. Ma sort i renni rôl y sis cebeg elia, dy chol I bac na ffyr elia. As esh, fair elia, as fair elia rish. As ren Kate call ulio a bínidec as chiawi sis a chwego chebeg as a sheo, as fy shen ulio jaw. Rish tamult liawr fi na siadda was vi fwrach dan orw dy hit nis. Ach no na rawad fos erjet dŵr ti, te gurish ciaw ergid maier sen ren call ergid hanna. Te gyn na velshiw son chit back rish. But vishu shilton the vel me son few na soja eru and shaw, tashu molich the glen. Nim guller dem as footy shu berach dan orm. Tan a lurgach and yewish na sen odds and temas. Esh, high Kate rumbu der any berach dan fred, van a chiadu gin glaciacha, as fe furach dan ori, no drawe giri riddenach de. The Chronicle of the Kings of Man and the Isles was published by the Manx Society with an extensive commentary by Professor P.A. Munch. Professor Munch gives detailed evidence for his view that the Chronicle gets a bit mixed up with its narrative of Magnus Barefoot. His view is that Magnus Barefoot was involved in the Orkneys first of all, and then the Scottish Isles, and Galloway and the Isle of Man came a little bit later. He was involved in the Orkneys and Scottish Isles as early as 1093 and 1094, but the Chronicle doesn't mention the Galloway and the Isle of Man at that time. However, it accredits some of what was done to an expedition in 1098 and 1099. And again, in Professor Munch's view, there's further confusion with his final campaign in 1102 and 1103. Professor Munch says that some of what is described is probably accurate overall, but some of the events are ascribed to a single campaign of 1098 and 1099, while the Chronicle also mentions events that Professor Munch says are complete fabrications, and specifically he mentions the opening of the Shrine of St. Olaf by Magnus Barefoot, and giving an order to King Murphy O'Brien of Ireland about shoes, which we'll come to anon. Donald MacDonald, who gave up the pipes at the age of 17 after he became enchanted with the fiddle, and that was a recording of him on his croft on the shores of Loch Morrod near Mallaig in 1954.
Manx Radio.
Seo stasiwn yn asiwn radio fanning, a si Claare na Gael wisgol yr sgeili yma cartnish, mer yn pyn Robert gyda'n carfol, Robert y carslach.
Did the other hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
A fwyd yw clash yn Claare na Gael rys siacht yn lwg yn sgeili yma gilio rys brw a craman eis rys yn edeg y radio fanning, as rai yn yma Claare yn sien. Ta podcast nasty J. Claare na Gael nies, rys trwyd in edeg y radio fanning, na trwyd yn dy rai chier y podcast, fel sien Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. We'll come to Magnus Barefoot in the Chronicles by setting the scene first, I suppose. We're going to hear quite a lot from the Chronicles, in fact. In the year 1095, all the chiefs of the Isles, hearing of the death of King Lagman, and Lagman was one of the sons of Godred Crovan, sent messages to Murphy O'Brien, King of Ireland, begging of him to send some competent person of the royal race to be their king, till Olaf, son of Godred Crovan, should have grown up. The king willingly assented to them. In the year 1098 there was a battle between the Manx men at Santwat, and those of the north obtained the victory. In the contest were slain the Earl Otter and MacMarus, leaders of their respective parties. In the same year, Magnus, King of Norway, son of Olaf, the son of Harald Harfager, or Hardrader, wishing to ascertain if the body of St. Olaf remained free from corruption, ordered his tomb to be opened. The bishop and clergy resisted the attempt, but the king audaciously came forward and by royal order had the shrine opened for his inspection. So that's the piece that Professor Monk actually says is probably apocryphal. But anyway, we'll carry on with that story in the Chronicles as it appears there. De tafinish durfred as cor daw shen tower chorliat, as renni corde an aran chirum. As nish son an eam as a cheshe durt an dunye. Oh, Fred, durt Kate, ren mi cor esh den a clash an cart lesh an eam, as been a kebeg and the cheshe an show the leer, dat force a red. Ren kebeg jow raier soul, as ren mi cor na firelia de chorliau i back. Esh, durt Fred, bij fien jouw gaat het Kate de jommel en iem, as de liegert en a kebeg en de geisje rolle schiese gronk. As tregge Kate, wel, kaartes, lizig over een stouw er au shen me bij. Gouds wat gie en aran chirum koejach, doort Fred, Kate, rennu cor a tai voglaas roos me rennu vergeel. Ha ren, Fred, lizig over een stouw shen roos nish. As dregger a dunje sheshek, well, sign dat gold de valje chalirach, as cor a taifo glass, rosh me vishen gold beg na soja. The history associated with this song is of Bretons with William of Normandy in the conquest of Britain. William of Normandy, Guillaume, William the Conqueror, his mother was Breton, and he had a Breton governess. His daughter married a Breton, and it wasn't at all Normans who came to Britain in his train, according to this song, Silvestrig. Another of the recordings made by Andrea Aguille with harp accompaniment by a young Alain Cochevelou, who later became Alain Stiebel, and that was the song Sylvestrig, Little Sylvester. As gauws taweg y tai, dwt Friedrich Kate, Cart y mai dwt corliat riddenach elia de I, as nim fwracht yn ort yn sio. Mor so hai Kate Roy, as fi smunion ry hun. Nod wel Fred giri tulliw de I, as novelle kunta monaje imas keisha, nim corliam back pert de oolen chirmech as podgil de fin gear. Esh renni cor boltich en Doris Toshi. Ach, renni Gael Doris na cooliach, jane na jousen en egge, as roggy souse na geelchenek, as I smunion, de bech en Doris seg, ulju sautje na jinnach adi beach at a tai. As renni gold a heishach a red back, as I smunion riheen, be huish en tre saujeg Fred de Gael fey. Mar so tre renni rashen rish dilly mach de, Fred, me vis Doris a tai sautje, canod adi beach at a tai. Och, nee, Dillia, kreeg och kielach as dan ven jesje hem. When Magnus had seen with his eyes and touched with his hands the incorrupt body, a great fear suddenly took possession of him, and he departed in great haste. The following night, Olav, the martyr king, appeared to him in a vision and said, Choose, I tell you, one of two things, either to lose your kingdom and life within 30 days, or to retire from Norway and never again to see it. The king, awakening from sleep, summoned his princes and elders and related to them the vision. But they, in great alarm, advised him to quit Norway as soon as possible. He immediately collected a fleet of 160 ships and sailed to the Orkney Islands, which he subdued, and, passing through all the islands, brought them under his dominion, and arrived at Man. Putting in at the island of St. Patrick, he went to visit the site of the battle which the Manxmen had fought between themselves a short time before, for many bodies of the slain still lay there unburied. Our Ruby Biscuit Taylor is outside again. Ciao muirish. This is Bisky Brisht.
Go
Bisky Brish from the Brebbel Ushja album and Ruby song Chow Mui Rish, Outside Again. When Magnus had observed the beauty of the island, he was much pleased, and chose it for his abode, erecting forts which to this day bear his name. Magnus compelled the men of Galloway to cut timber and bring it to the shore for the construction of the forts. He sailed to Anglesey, an island of Wales, where he found 2 Earls Hugh, Hugh of Chester and Hugh of Shrewsbury, one of whom he slew, the other he put to flight, and brought the island under subjection to himself. The Welsh brought him great presents, and taking his leave of them he returned to Man. He sent his shoes to Murrough, King of Ireland, commanding him to carry them on his shoulders through his house on Christmas Day, in the presence of the envoys, in token of his subjection to King Magnus. When the Irish heard this, they were highly incensed and indignant, but their king, following the dictates of wiser counsel, said he would not only carry the shoes but eat them, rather than Magnus should ruin a single province in Ireland. De immerker soel Doris na coolje, dilly Fred, de vod peger be cos na stiach on, as de chor bolted de Doris toshi. Te ro an Magnus de gulde valje. Ach o de veluche chorliat de Doris, houd, voor de immerke in de soja. Mai de loor, nim immerke Doris Fred doorty, ach bine oelen tjermetjes a fien gier o tromer mahan. Nim crochad by an Doris as corersen nimmergad. Nish vad gulstjach ons keel de chirren a merli, a gedodad feathenad. Tre henke de vei dorrache haiad soes ons bilje de chouwen lee ons shen. Gelees vad a chorad heen egnenesh, henk na kajer en gussewol shen, kustjen a dania shen te ren gimmerker soel shen nach lise golmeru, gameleshel, kustjen a dania shen te gimmerker soel nach shen nach lise golmeru, as te fedden nichen rosh me visset kalt. Hugged heen en laid de girach von vilja on befredes Kate, as renadile, as gauw toier de rein oru a griewok. 3 tunes composed by Cornish musician Len Davis and played there by 2 erstwhile members of Cornish band Dalla, Neil Davey and Jen Dyer, and bringing us finally to Dynamite Key in Hale, officially the Leyland Key, famous for shipping out explosives for the mining industry.
Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiant yn sio, sien dy ffyr, radio banning. Sio dat Claare na Gael ag yn treiton, a sé Robert gyda'n corfol mis, Robert y corslach.
Have you ever had tell of old Bobby Bob?
Ren Fred drapel schies Chawelia bilje. As ren chimsach a kujach pert de chlachen. As ren drapel schies rish. As ve fo, klach a gebes na merli liau. Ach, ren na klachen boelad, as doortad higgemor de lia, ten geen jartige as kre noes na cochlen en Jewis. Ach ulju en tre sjov en Doris ek Kate na giltjenek, a sern oder au in a lai traumori, vis monien der au sjen kunten na ulen tjermich, as doorti, Fred, sein thou kjau schies na ulen tjermich. Na gin shen Kate, geen kaart nish treggerij, voor die de bergsjen feddernich maag. Oh, me Fred been sein thou, tat nen lai goed traumarm, doorti. Well, gin shen me vis ort, sen hem de chulje rid vis morangesh, dilia. A schies ren rolle na ulen ether na bangenen, as daimak na merli. Ta oshigens a bilje shaw. King Morrow complied with the injunction and treated the envoys with honour. He sent many presents also by them, the envoys, to King Magnus, and arranged a treaty. On their return, the envoys reported to their master the situation and delightfulness of Ireland, the abundance of its produce, and the salubrity of its climate. Magnus, hearing this, could think of nothing but the conquest of all Ireland. He therefore ordered a fleet to be assembled, and going on himself before with 16 ships to explore the country, landed incautiously, was suddenly surrounded by the Irish, and perished with almost all who were with him. He was buried near the church of St. Patrick in Down. He reigned over the Isles 6 years. After his death, the chiefs of the Isles sent for and brought over Olaf, son of Godred Crowan, who was at that time residing at the court of Henry, King of England, son of William the Conqueror. And so in 1103 Olaf finally succeeded his brother Lagman, who died in 1095. Well, I'll leave Joseph O'Haney himself to explain about the song now he's going to sing.
The song the children usually sing at home is, well, it's about a child who wanted her mother let her go to the fair, as she wanted to meet this shoemaker. And she was only 10 years of age. But she insisted on her mother letting her go because she loved this shoemaker so much. And they call it the Gracie Brogue, which means a shoemaker. Bain the chamade chagun de Claare, bain the chamade chagun de Claare. Bain the chamade chagun de Claare, skewagum me on. So what in a licketun and in me, what in a licketun and in me, what in a licketun and in me. The story no no way. Nilton jan in your foot, Nilton jan in your foot, Nilton jan in your foot, no device to 3 gigabyte or more. So what in a licketun and in me, what in a licketun and in me, what in a licketun and in me. A story no no way. Ballum pen we see broke, Ballum pen we see broke, Ballum pen we see broke. No, a figure kind of win a lost sea or what in a licketun and in me, what in a licketun and in me, what in a licketun and in me. A story no no way. Ballum pen we see broke, Ballum pen we see broke, Balam pen and weedy see broken no big a kind of win a lot see or so what in lickatun and in me what in lickatun and in me what in lickatun and in me a story no no hello Bain le gemade gekon de Claare bain le gemade gekon de Claare Bain le gemade gekon de Claare ke wa gemeni bij me aan so wat in lickatun en in me what in lickatun en in me what in lickatun en in me as a story no no
Joseph O'Haney and the song Bein a Chamorach in Gonti and Claare. There'll be a fair tomorrow in the County Clare. The story of Magnus Barefoot at the shrine of St Olaf, opening it up, was probably apocryphal, but showed Magnus as impulsive and gives also a reason for his being absent from Norway. In 1093 and 1094 he came to the Orkneys, but subsequently came southwards to establish himself as ruler of the Western Isles of Scotland. And in a second expedition, apparently 1098-1099, perhaps before, he'd come to Galloway and the Isle of Man, which he made his military base, building forts. That'll be the Peel on St Patrick's Isle. It probably includes Fairy Hill at Ballafesson, and perhaps Castle Ward, Braddon. In 1102 he attacked the Norman earls who were pressing Anglesey, and he shot Earl Hugo of Chester through the eye and put Earl Hugo of Shrewsbury to flight. Now this would have been for his own aggrandisement, not to assist the Welsh, although of course it did assist the Welsh. He came back to the Isle of Man again before setting off to invade Ireland. The Chronicle regards him as having been the de facto king of Man and the Isles from 1098 until the restoration of the dynasty of Godred Crovan under Olaf Godredson on Magnus Barefoot's death in 1103. Lord Tamult, nod raw Doris Forst na lai tro murray, dúirt Kate, "Oh, Fred, sign thou dare to make a fin gear." As the reggae, "Na gin shen, Kate, genaiden dot junu shen, fully de berg shen feathernet maag." "Oh, nee, Fred, sign thou, tain a lie getrouw morm." "Esh, jinne, ma vis ortons, enem de chulju rid, vis mar an geish." As renny deer te maag a fin gear, drou ulju na dania spreit lesh. A stoortad en derre jerish en jaelia, te droog de wari goltoyach der tusham hanna. Vijera gauw Kate toyach der smunjen, draui de fear a Doris van a lai tromori. As doort he, "Fred, sign thou kiau shisa Doris." As dregere, "Na gin shen, Kate, gene kaart nish, fuddy de berg shen feathernish maag." "Oh, nee, Fred, sign thou, tain a lai go tro morm." "Na gin shen, Kate, sign dot cummelay the chon." Now, with a tune by Tidder Morgan and words by another Prívarth and Cyn Achderwydd, the former archdruid, Merddin ap Dafydd, this is Linda Griffiths now leading Plethin this time in the song Cwm y Coed, the Dale of the Wood.
Ar tir yn cael ei dŵr. Roedd gan y land o'r destron glamp o wal o gylch ei blas, ond cerig sbar ar olau yn dyddyn bach i'r glas. Han oedd arad yn troi'r tywair a hadau yn yr hyd. Han oedd cribin i'r cynhaya ar fron dan gnydau gwych. Roedd yn y fro deuluoedd cleted oedd y gwaith a phedwar mir a llechi yn lloches i'r hen iawn. chwalu yr hen ffermydd, roedd gwenwyn yn y bryd. Y nhw sy'n awr yn meiddio sôn am draed sy'n meibion ni, y nhw sy'n goch gan waed, unwaith ienau'n roedd i. A lleb i drws agored, a chroeso heb eich gwadd. Mae mynwent patholwyr, a chymbogaeth wedi lladd. Cymerwyd ei fywoliaeth, oddi ar hyn deulu'r tir. Cymerwyd coed i'r felin, ac mae'r daith i fan o'n hir. Ac wrth i'r bobl fido, neu fyw ar gyflog llai, cymerwyd y bris uchel, wrth werthu saith o'r tai. Y nhw sy'n awr yn meiddio sôn am draed sy'n meibio ni, y nhw sy'n goch gan waed, unwaith ienau'n roedd i. A lleb i drws agored, a chroeso heb eich gwadd. Mae mynwent bratholwyr, a chymbogaeth wedi lladd. Y comisiwn sydd yn cymryd, heb roddi dim yn ôl, y fro sydd wedi beiddi, a chwerwed sy'n ei ffwr. Ffarwel i gartre'r teulu, a chai y drws i raid, i chaiff y wires chwarae, lle chwarae a'r taid. Y nhw sy'n awr yn meiddio sôn am draed sy'n meibio ni, y nhw sy'n goch gan waed, unwaith ienau'n roedd i. A lleb i drws agored, a chroeso heb eich gwadd. Mae mynwent patholwyr, a chymbogaeth wedi lladd. Ond mae ddaeth unant conwy i lasu'r cillaryn, cynefin y coed caled, bydd byw gweitha hyn. Daeth eto liwiau'r gwanwyn, lle bu y gaeaf hir. Bydd gwlad yn drech nag arglwydd, tra derwen yn ein y tir.
Welsh trio Plethin and the song Cwm y Coed. Oh, Fred, dwr Kate, tan doras skirachtan, te tushim. Wel, cartes, gin ligad e tushim ons enem an angeish, dilly Fred as jowlas air. As marso hutche, les crash fivur. For all the actions in which Magnus Barefoot had taken part, his death came not in some great set-piece battle or mighty venture, but when he was killed probably in nothing more than a raid for supplies in Ulster, and killed in a skirmish on the 23rd of August, 1103. As yr sent yn ergitus gerach Claare here cho. Between 7 and 9, you can enjoy the best of music for your Manx Radio Sunday Chill Out with Chris Pearson. And then at 9, Judith Leigh hosts Sundown. Claare Gael is brought to a close by Scottish band Rura, and this is their Dark Reel. Ach, Sinead by Claare Gael Cartnish as my soul from me, Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Old Bobby Bob.
I'd like to wish you a very good night. Eve, I'm a Creort, as Duts, my Yeri and Share.